So we started this Gregorian Fellows leadership program in 2011. That was one of the things when I came back to the college, President Minnis wanted to task me with, like, we want a leadership program. And we modeled it after Gregory the Great, because he's the first Benedictine Pope. And he was a great secular leader. He's a Roman consul, and so he was very effective in his strategies and as a leader in the Roman world. And then he said, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just be a monk, and I want to pray. And so that's what he did. He left all that. He went to pray, and the monks were like, but you're really good at leading, and Rome's falling apart. And so they pluck him out, right? And they make him Pope. And as a result, he was dealing with Roman leaders. He was dealing with barbarians. He helped resolve a plague. I mean, corruption. I mean, he was the model of this. That's why he was considered the great, right? Because he could take the secular leadership and the faith leadership, and he could bridge those two worlds effectively. And of course, he was responsible for evangelizing up north, and he was just a man of learning. His pastoral rule was used for centuries by bishops on how to train clergy, and right. So he was our model. So we call it the Gregorian Fellows. And our program is basically, we accept 25 students each year, and we run them through a series of modules. So one of the things, I know President Minnis has talked about this before, we have a leadership class that's like TED Talk Monday. Mm-hmm. So we bring in exemplars who share their faith, their journey of leadership principles, and they're in various fields. And it's good for our students to see that, because they see how the faith can be incorporated in different walks of life, because our mission is to promote Catholic identity in public life. So they have to see that can be lived and how it's lived in these different realms. So that's a big part of our course. In the second year, we have another course called the Raven Standard, which is basically a deep dive into their leadership development, right? Because with all things, they have to start with themselves, that self-knowledge. How do they do these things? How do they handle crucial conversations, right? How do they understand habit formation? How do they have emotional intelligence, right? Because part of leadership journey is you have to influence others, right? And so you have to work with others. You have to manage your emotions and understand how other people work. So we work on that. Also in the program, we have mentoring opportunities. We do a retreat at the beginning of the year. We have various social opportunities to build community within the fellows. So all told, we have around 100 fellows. The fruit has been fantastic. We've had 8 marriages come out of the program, although I promise students, look, I'm not going to say that's going to happen. Yeah. We just had another ordination, 2 this summer, Father David Hall and Father Jeff Fenwalls, and then Father Colin Larkin. So we've had 3 ordinations. We have 1 sister. 17 of the last 22 Fran Jabara Award winners were Greg Fellows. 2 of the last 3 TCIA, our Transforming Culture in America Award winners, were Gregorian Fellows. So we're seeing the fruit. And one of the last things I'll say, every Greg Fellow has to take on a leadership role at the college. Because again, leadership is a practical art. It has to be practiced, right? And so we use this as our laboratory, right? So when the students come in, they learn these practices, but then they have to put them to use. Okay.
Maybe go into that concept of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so we've seen this in not just the college. I mean, there's been this delayed adolescence through colleges, right? And part of that is the human formation side of things is lacking, right? Breakdown of family or too much social media. Schools are really falling down on this. So one aspect of that human formation is this, the emotional intelligence. For so long, people focused on the IQ of young people, and it has its place. But the EQ, especially in leadership, when people start out in a career, right, they work on those competencies that they're hired to do, right? Oh, I'm hired at this level and this is my job. But as they ascend into leadership, they have to manage people. Mm-hmm. And their skill set becomes less focused on that and more focused on how do you get people to work together, right? That's probably 90% of their work. Well, that requires emotional intelligence. That requires, how do I understand my own self and how I function? Am I in control of my passions? That leads to why virtue is so important. But then recognizing in others, how are they feeling, acting, behaving, right? What's their emotional regulation? And how do I help to create a healthy environment where the emotions are properly channeled, right? And so this is that notion of emotional intelligence. It's a part of human formation, and especially for leaders to know this. We had one of our alums who said, when I want an analyst in my company, he was a bank president. He says, when I want an analyst, I hire these Ivy League guys because they're really good at this specific task. But all my leaders come from a Benedictine liberal arts school because they're able to understand where people are and they can make decisions. They're not paralyzed, right? Because they understand how people work and they can work team, right? So all his leaders came from small liberal art Benedictine school. I thought, yeah, that makes sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the Benedictine Dialogues today, I want to invite you to visit our website, media.benedictine.edu. Be sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter where you will receive all of the latest in your inbox, or subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thanks again for watching. God bless.